9, 7,
6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the Nines, presented by AT&T. As always, I'm Uber and these are my co-hosts, LCS desk analyst Crumbz and Twitch rivals Dynamo Locodoco. How did Twitch rivals go, buddy? That bad, huh?
We won a game. It didn't go that
How
bad.
many did you play?
We won. We played 6, and then we won 1.
You had to ask how many to get a percentage.
Exactly.
You didn't even participate. Okay.
I never got asked. I was busy.
Yeah, you were
Being on the
irrelevant.
desk.
You were irrelevant.
Even Monty Adoa got asked and you didn't. How does that feel, bud?
I didn't even know they were doing it.
On today's show, we have another off-season update special. We'll have Dominate here in the studio for Cloud Connections to talk to us about all the most recent League of Legends roster changes, which is probably why you're watching the show. And later on in Click Debate, which is definitely why you're watching the show, Loco and Crumbz will argue over the League of Legends All-Star event, and then they'll pick their All-Star teams. Listen up, you and the audience will have a chance to win some Puma swag, so make sure to... Can we have feed on Twitch? Is that TOS? Make sure to stick around for that. But first... We can't just give you a league dessert first. Let's talk a bit of eSports news to start things off. First and foremost, the PUBG Global Championship was this past weekend, and Gen G took first place in $2 million in $2 million prize money.
Outrageous.
Hello? PUBG!
What?
Fans helped the crowd fund a prize pool of over $4 million. They're trying to do a Dota thing now. Oh, we need to crowd fund some more esports tournaments out here for the largest PUBG tournament of the year. PUBG Mobile also has been gaining momentum. The Club Open Fall Global Finals, there's a mouthful for you, will be taking place this weekend in Malaysia, where our very own Cloud9 squad will be competing with teams from all over the world for a prize pool of $500,000. PUBG Mobile, hello? Recently, on top of this, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, oh, Uncle Bobby, love to see it, has expressed an interest into expanding into their game lineup into the phone market, right, with the success of Call of Duty Mobile, which not huge over here, but I know is really picking up steam in Asia and the rest of the world. How big do you guys think the competitive mobile gaming portion of the industry could get?
Let me tell you how and why it's going to get so big.
Okay.
The biggest thing is going to be India. So India has about 1.5 billion people, and they're now starting to all get more and more technologically sound. They have a lower grade version of PUBG Mobile that they are already playing. So now you're adding 1.5 billion people to the player base that also speak English. PUBG Mobile is gonna be huge.
Yeah, so it might seem really weird for the Western audience, for people that watch League of Legends, Overwatch, CSGO, like why is PUBG so big? But it is huge in China, it is huge in Korea. So yeah, that's why the numbers are so crazy. And for mobile gaming, one thing that it does that's very unique is with PC and console gaming,
Play
it
in
is...
the toilet.
No, it is still very like male dominant, like there's that age range, but with mobile gaming, a lot more girls play it and a lot more older people and younger people play it, all you Zoomers and all you Boomers.
Mm-hmm.
You're in those categories.
I am not. I'm a millennial. I am not a boomer. Or
This is Monty's argument as well, millennial. No, I think he was saying on Twitter, he wants to be called like a rusher because most of his humor is from the gold rush era of the 1920s. So we can choose now what we are based on where our humor comes from. Otherwise, mine is just 2 week old stale memes. But other news, Cloud9 have been dropping hints for weeks about this now, but it is official. The 2020 London Spitfire roster has been unveiled. The first 8 members are J-Mac, Hailey, Fuse, Shui, Burner, Krillin, and Sanguinar, as well as Glister.
Who are these people?
Yeah, so, okay, this is interesting, right? So,
I was here a year ago. I don't see, these are none of the main players.
Profit? That's the one I know.
Where's Profit? I know. So, okay, so Fuse and Burner come from the Philadelphia University roster, their academy team that dominated in NA and then went to Korea and got pooed on. But they were extremely good academy team domestically. Glister wasn't young enough to play, I think, until recently. He's a fantastic DPS player. I think this team in general is looking good. They built it around Krillin, a player who was on the Spitfire roster last year that barely got played. They ran him out like a couple times as like a support player. They've currently got 4 support players, including Hailey that comes across from the Seoul Dynasty. It is a very different team. It's super young. they're talented players, but when you look at the established rosters they're going up against, you can see that C9 is definitely taking like a different approach to the rest of
Developing talent like they do in League of Legends.
Exactly.
So then what do you think about the Vancouver Titans? Because they announced that they are signing Fissure to the squad. I do know that name.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him joining the last year's runner-up?
So on one hand, we've got Cloud9 with a bunch of the, or Spitfire, should I say, with a bunch of this really young talent that hasn't proven themselves. And then we have Fissure on the other side, who's definitely proven himself to be a little unstable in team environments. I think he just hasn't found a home that suited him very much. He's replacing Bumper, who was kind of as aggressive as Fissure, but had all of his team behind him, like pumping all of these resources into their main tank. The game, we're just about to see main tanks get nerfed, by the way. Reinhardt will get a bit of a buff in this patch coming out, but it's going to be less of a tank-focused game, I'd say, in the future. And Fissure, like the meme is that he was involved in a lot of a lot of teams sort of falling apart, which wasn't the truth, but it is well documented that he's not the easiest sword to get along with. He's very high expectations of his teammates.
Is Fissure the guy that was on Runaway that did like the gigantic Reinhardt slam that's like legendary?
Oh, that was Kaiser.
Okay,
that was
never mind.
Kaiser.
Oh my god, I was about to flex my Overwatch knowledge.
It sounds like there's a lot of Overwatch drama that continues to pop up.
Oh my
What's
God.
going on with that?
Today is dumb. Today on Overwatch Twitter is actually super dumb. So basically, the Philadelphia Fusion have signed a player to the roster called Chipser. Now, a couple issues with that. First of all, Chipser didn't play in contenders really. He wasn't one of those. He's a streamer, incredibly good. Like as far as
The Doomfist guy.
right, he fists. Like as far as the stats go, he is technically the #1 Doomfist in the world. If you look at like stat tracking and stuff, he's also the brother of one of the coaches on Philadelphia, right?
Ooh.
So there's a couple. Okay, so Jane, particularly from the Dallas Fuel, spoke out and said this kind of, excuse my term here, but kind of poops on the whole path to pro, like which is, a way for players to go from amateur to playing on academy teams to playing in the league. And because Philly didn't sign him as a streamer. They signed him as like a player in their roster, right? Chips is a meme, he's just a meme lord, right? He has a lot of, quite a strong brand online, but is he proven like as a team player competitively? No. But the problem is that the Dallas Fuel, the team that housed, I don't know, XQC and Seagull, one of their representatives is speaking out against hiring a streamer to play on their team. So, yeah, okay, Jane didn't actually do this, so fair enough. But, the problem is that the path to pro is a path to pro that Blizzard have tried to put in place to help players. God, if Philly want to pick up their 6th DPS player and it happens to be a brother or one of the guys, like, you're not stealing a spot away from another player because a lot of these teams don't fill their sort of 10 through 12 spots on their rosters anyway. They don't pay that money. So there's two sides to the argument, and all the classic, juice dealers are weighing in and everyone's reacting. I try to stay agnostic about it. I just don't think it's that important. But I'm talking about it on this show. So
It could be good. And then everyone would forget about it.
Yeah.
So the big word is nepotism. Is it nepotism? I do think with all these pickups, especially in League of Legends also, there's Papa Smithy, an Australian, picking up Ryoma.
The
an
world runs
Australian.
on nepotism.
Yeah. Zabutin, a French coach, picking up Aka, a French player. So there's all this talk about nepotism pickups. So a long time ago, I picked up Lustboy from Blaze when he didn't have the best exit, but I knew Lustboy better than anyone else. And I talked to Lustboy, and I knew he was in the perfect spot to come over to North America and really have a second career and a second blossom, like a second renaissance to his career.
Sure.
And I was the only one in the world that knew that because I talked to Lustboy all the time, and I knew him as a person, and I knew he'd fit in. So yes, it can be viewed as nepotism, but it can also be viewed as someone with information that other people don't have, and that's finding the perfect fit.
There's an extra layer to this because obviously these guys are literally family members, so it's literally nepotism and not just cronyism. But I'm on this show because I happen to have worked with the producers before on previous things with the Overwatch League. Does that make that cronyism? Or maybe I just networked and maybe I'm just really friggin' good.
No wonder you're on this show. You're terrible. And okay, this explains everything.
Well, like everyone has their function, I'm here to yell, Loco's here to be the punching bag. We all get along, we make shows, and we go on with our lives. But so we don't have our
You
chief.
didn't name my function.
Like I said, Crumbz doesn't know what day it is. Like we just sort of sit him down like Hannibal and just get him to,
That's not fair, all right? I was away for a while, okay?
Maybe he's always jet lagged from gallivanting around. Okay, literally, you went to Sweden to hang out with a mate.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I went there and Sweden was very quiet. I wanted to get away from the busyness of Los Angeles, to have a chance to get away from it all, reflect, disconnect. It was too much time on the phone, too much time on the computer.
Not enough time in sensory deprivation tanks.
Well, it practically did the same thing if it's quiet enough over there in the Swedish suburbs. So it was just a really nice refreshment.
Big shout out, of course, to Semler and Swedes. Must be nice up there. So we don't have our chief meteorologist, Christopher Montana, aka Monte Cristo. We have Mitch Gruber though, but he's busy hosting Twitch Rivals. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about some memes and some tomfoolery, which we've already started on. But speaking of which, FlyQuest posted this. Pokemon is the #1 game in the world, Yoda is trending, and Monte Cristo and Doa are casting LOL. What year is it? It does feel like a bit of a throwback period, right?
Yeah, the whole Yoda thing, Monty and Doa coming back to League. I think if you ask someone about 2 years ago, would Monty ever come back to League? Monty has said he would never come back to League.
Yep.
Twitch Rival is not Riot Ran.
That's right.
So it is still a little bit different, but it seems like Monty is dipping his toes with Summoning Insight and Twitch Rivals.
I don't think he said he wouldn't come back to the league. I think he said he wouldn't work with Riot.
Yeah,
Riot only.
Yeah, well,
Listen,
basically.
I'm not making his decision.
But I mean, like, if you watch Twitch Rivals, which I do recommend, it's been fantastic. The League of Legends stuff as well. He and Dora get let off the chain a little bit more. Like, it's much more sort of laid back, stream of consciousness, organic stuff, and they probably enjoy the freedom in casting that a little bit more. So yeah, what a throwback it is. I've also been playing the crap out of the Pokemon game. It's been fantastic. Some great content there. But what about this one? Did you guys see this post here from Shakarez? I actually love this. Ties into what we were talking about last week. Dignitas finalizing their agreement to field this roster for LCS Spring 2020.
So,
I think they can only afford 3 Hoonies, by the way, with what their budget is right now.
Yeah.
Right?
So they talked about it. Well, Shaka hasn't talked about it. And then made a report that Dignitas is struggling to sign players because Huni is eating up 1/3 of their budget. So you are exactly correct.
It's not even that they don't have the budget. It's that no one wants to play on a team that is already spending so much on a player publicly where they're like, oh, we'll offer you this much. I'm like, you just offered this guy this much money, and I know where he stands competitively.
Yep.
Why on earth am I going to go?
And it's bizarre because this is what happens when player salaries do sort of get out into the public, right? And this happens even amongst classes as well. We just don't talk about it.
But Mitch, it's going to go next level because what's going to happen is they're not going to be able to sign anyone, so they're going to sign 4 NA Academy players, and they will develop NA talent more than anyone else.
So one thing really interesting about offseason is the teams know the other team's roster moves very, very well. And from my knowledge, the only roster moves that haven't been finalized are Dignitas Jungle, Dignitas Support, and EG Mid Lane.
Okay.
So when you're in this position where there's only 1 support spot left and 1 jungle spot left, you can go up to players and be like, yo, Crumbz, you're not going to sign with us?
The door's closing.
Then you're not playing in LCS.
Crumbz!
And then players have to sign with you because it's either you sign with our team or you don't get a shot at LCS at all. And the fact that Dignitas is still struggling means they're in such a bad spot.
I guess they didn't like Lyra, right? Like, what happened with that?
I think there is still an outside chance of him coming back. He talked about how he wants to play in LCK and LPL. I don't think you're really going to have a shot at that Lyra. So it's kind of like, it's romantic, ironically romantic. You guys don't have anyone else, and you're the only option for each other.
Story of your life.
I had other places to be today.
You say that. No, I did see Loco did post his busy schedule of shows he's doing this week on Twitter.
Oh, you're showcasing your schedule now.
That's right, he's putting it out there. Hey, just how you follow it. That's what everyone does at TwitchCon as well. Like people that people just random people just like, oh, I'm doing all these things, and they put like exactly where you can find them. And
But I'm not a random person.
that is true.
I'm relevant, right? Tell me yes.
Don't hold me.
I love how you ask your washed up bottom laner ask washed up jungler if they're relevant. I love that. Finally, and here I am. We've seen some celebrities actually crossing over into the esports space, and most recently, the guard for the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker, showed out to a game wearing this 100 Thieves hoodie, the classic stripes. The game day fit for NBA players is quite a well-documented spectacle nowadays, so who do you guys think would be a good athlete or celebrity to rep the C9 line?
Ooh. Well, I personally like Lonzo Ball. I'm not sure if that's a great brand fit, but I would love to see Lonzo wearing some Cloud9 merch. Also, I don't know the exact basketball player, but I do remember a basketball player wearing Poke merch. I thought that was like...
An airline. I think an airline is the best fit. I'm not a player. Cloud9, some sort of airline sponsorship.
Recently, I flew back from Texas, I think, in like a plane that was done up for Star Wars, right? You know, they do like paint up the planes promotionally. Jack, just bloody emblazing your logo on a plane. That'll be great. I want to see Cam Jordan wearing a big old oversized like C9 hoodie. The guy is massive, so obviously defensive lineman for the New Orleans Saints. Who dat? I would like to see that. But I think I saw a football player wearing like even an Overwatch League t-shirt. So I don't know who organizes this stuff. I don't know if like influencer managers reach out and like, wear our shit. We'll pay you.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
They're paid.
Brands are paying these players to wear this on, like anytime you're going to be on camera, a brand will pay you.
Damn, showbiz is actually crazy. So, Loco, while we're on the subject, you can now explain yourself to the rest of the class.
Oh,
Why the face? And are you wearing lipstick?
I am not wearing
He
lipstick.
just has luscious lips.
Like, my skin is very white and my lips are very red. So 100 Thieves sent me over merch. Cloud9 also did send me over Puma merch, but they did not send me Cloud9 merch, specifically Portillo, send me merch, please. And also, shout out to Team Liquid. They were gonna send me merch, but they did not. So
Did you
owe
get
me
paid?
merch.
Like the NBA guys? Did you get paid?
I'm not that
Is
famous
that
yet.
hashtag ad or no?
Yeah, so I get paid. I get paid in merch to wear merch. I'm not at that level yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Teams will, soon enough, teams will start paying me money to wear their
Hey,
merch.
we got the straight fire Puma here on our feed, by the way, because obviously I'm not going to wear like some other fire on this show. It'd be ridiculous. So shout out to Puma for the crepes. Cheers. So yeah, if you're not a trader like Loco, and maybe the rest of us, but mostly Loco, you can rep Cloud9 during this holiday season with their all new line of merch. Check it out. This is Cloud Connections, presented by AT&T, and joining us today is LCS veteran and streamer Dominate. Welcome back to the Nines, man. How you been?
What's up? It's been good. It's been good. I've been enjoying the off season, seeing all the new changes. We had the new one that just happened right before. I mean, the rumor, obviously, Ryoma, it just happened right before I got on the show. So, I mean, we've got changes every day.
Yeah, wolf bombs or not, the rumors keep on coming, right?
Yeah,
So
you should be happy, man. He's one of your Australian brothers
That's
down
right.
there,
Well,
man.
to be fair, I used to destroy my team that I managed back in the OPL. So
okay.
still mad respect to him for coming on out here. Well, let's start with the game itself, right? What are you thinking right now, and how are you feeling about the preseason and the current patch?
I think it's pretty fun. I mean, I like the different like drakes. The different layouts of the map really give like some depth to the game. You have to play each map differently, and I feel like we haven't really had that type of like new interjection into the game in so long. So I'm really excited to see how these teams get better at playing all these different maps. Like, oh, when Ocean spawns, when Ocean Drake spawns, and you have all the brushes, how do they play around that? lack of vision that you now have in the game. When the map's open with Infernal, how does that really change like how people go for engages in the jungle and things like that? So I think overall these are the most healthy changes we've seen, as long as they balance everything to the point where you don't have certain champions only being played because of the Drakes. I think that it should be good.
Does it change life much for a jungler, as far as you concerned?
Well, so when I play jungle, randomly I feel like RNG can be so bad if you have like a Nidalee or a Rengar that you're against, and suddenly Ocean spawns and there's brushes all over the map. The Nidalee is just impossible to like ever catch because she's moving at 10,000 movement speed all over the jungle. Rengar can jump out of any brush at any point in the jungle. So I think that certain champions really benefit from them, but I guess we'll have to see like how things develop, how much that really matters in these games.
What about the catch-up experience? How are you liking that?
I love that they changed that, because now you can counter jungle somebody and it actually means something. Before it felt bad to counter jungle. You'd go into the enemy jungle, you'd kill one of their camps, and then it's like, wait, me walking there and killing the camp just helped him because he's gonna get more experience when the camp respawns. I'm farther away from my own camp, so I'm not getting experience. Like, it used to be this situation where I was like, I know I should counter jungle because that's what like the right thing to do is. Like, he ganked bot, I should counter jungle his top side. For a while, it just wasn't like that in the game. It was inefficient to do that type of stuff. So being able to actually punish like ganks and punish the enemy jungle, I feel like that's so much better for jungle as a role.
Nice. I'm glad.
What's your favorite map out of the 4 Drakes?
I like the wind, actually. Just
The movement speed around the buffs.
the movement speed around the buffs. That's so nice. You get the movement speed around the buffs. It allows you to like get into different situations. Like, I've been able to use it in ways where it's like, oh, they're sieging mid. I use the movement speed to get to a place where they wouldn't expect you to be at. So I feel like that that movement speed is just so fun to play with. I've always liked movement speed buffs in general.
So then, speaking of new things, what do you think about Aphelios? Because I saw the release, and honestly, it's like TLDR. I'm not bothered. Like, I'm just gonna wait for somebody to explain it to me because I don't have that much memory space.
This being
right
the
now.
person that goes through large books of philosophy all the time.
Listen,
like.
this is a champion that's not all concise. I don't get it. What do you make of this champion?
I mean, I just don't understand how we have champions in the game like Jax that don't even have a real weapon, and then you have Aphelios come out with like 6 weapons or 5 weapons or some shit. It's what the hell? Like, how are you supposed to be able to play this game with one champion that doesn't even have one?
So Riot has been pushing their champion design. So every single new champion design that comes out is going to break a rule and do something that no other champion has done. So when we get to like champion 1000, holy, like this champion's gonna have everything. This champion's gonna be crazy. But that's their design.
Yeah, I miss when like
Scion, it's like stun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
like old Scion Q where it would just be a targeted stun. Throws a bolt at you, stuns you for 2 seconds. Like that's
Tarek's old point and click stun.
Yeah.
You know, much of Jax's kit, right, hasn't changed that much.
I mean, it just, I miss the old abilities where you'd have at least a couple simple abilities. It feels like every single champion that comes out or every single rework is just some completely new crazy idea. It's like, Yumi, you don't even move anymore. You have Mordekaiser brings you into like another world, and like, I don't know, it just seems like there's so many differences now.
Because people kept asking each other to 1v1 in games, so they've finally brought more in. You can just force people.
I guess so, but I just kind of miss some of the older champions. Maybe I'm just a boomer, who knows?
You need Xin, man. At least Xin is a
something.
semblance of his old self.
So with all the off-season wheeling and dealings that we've sort of seen so far, I mean, that's continuing as we speak. Let's jump in to our own backyard, the LCS. Evil Geniuses confirmed the acquisition of former Cloud9 support Zeyzal, and they also announced Kumo will start. So EG got Bang as well from 100 Thieves.
Yep.
Looking at what this team has done so far to get back into the scene or to make their big sort of debut in League of Legends, where do you put them right now ranking in the LCS?
It really just depends on the mid laner, right?
For sure.
Like, you have Bang as an import. I think Svenskeren is not an import anymore.
They have an
right?
open import slot for mid.
So they have an open import slot for mid. It just depends on what that signing is. If that signing is like Ryoma 2.0, then we have a problem there. But if that's like a world-class mid laner, that could be one of the best teams in the LCS.
What if it's Pobelter?
Well, I mean, I thought he already announced that he has no team, that he's done.
They could come crawling back, like you said. If it's Ryoma 2.0, why not crawl back to Pobelter?
Oh, I would like to see that. I think Pobelter is definitely better than some of the people we've seen picked up. Like, I don't think there's a world where I can say that Pobelter is going to perform worse in the LCS than Golden Glue. Like, I can't see that.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen.
EG could have gone either direction because they had both Deathly and Kumo. Do you like them staying with Kumo and getting Bang, or maybe staying with Deathly and getting an import top?
I don't know. It's really hard to see like what imports are available. Like, obviously, I know Khan is now available, but apparently he's signing somewhere in China. I just don't know what their options were at that point and like what their budget looks like. So it's really hard for me to make like an educated decision. I guess we'll know based on the mid laner what their budget actually looked like.
Is it hard to get a feel for who is in this this import pool, free agent wise? Because I mean, because I also know the way that like a lot of Korean players deal with contracts is a little bit less open, right, than a lot of Western players. Is it kind of hard to gauge that?
These teams, at least in these offseason, they do not care about free agency. They're just like, just buy them, right? They all come in with new money. They don't care how much they have on their contract. They have enough money to just keep buying out people from wherever they want.
So there's been a little bit better connections made between the East and the West, where there are a lot of agency that will help Western teams connect to the Eastern teams and buy out players. But this year was really unique where the Western teams went all out after they got knocked early in Worlds, especially for North America. So most of them had their rosters figured out so early where a lot of the LCK and LPL imports weren't even considered.
Do we even have any rumors for EG? Because I remember like every other team, we pretty much knew what the roster was supposed to be. I haven't even heard an EG rumor from mid lane.
So EG rumors have been just so crazy. Like there's talks of Chovy, there was who else was there was talks of BDD, there was talks of UCal. It was just such far-fetched names. I'm not sure if they were able to.
I didn't see anything of like legitimacy around like any of the imports that they could have got from mid. So I have no clue what that team's gonna look like. I feel like mid is such an important role that the difference between getting somebody like Chovy and somebody like Golden Glue on your team would just be a night and day like difference.
But do you think that's really going to matter if their coaching staff is not solid? Because none of these teams have announced major changes to the coaching staff. And I feel like that is actually going to determine whether this roster can run or not.
Yeah, I don't even know who EG's coaching staff is. Like, what team did EG? Did EG take Echo Fox?
Yeah, Echo Fox is fun.
Okay, so but they didn't get the coaching staff.
No, Song is now
went to CLG.
Okay, Song went to CLG. So there's no coach for EG that's been announced.
Nope.
Well, I have no clue.
Wait, no. It's not me. It's not me. If that's what you're implying. This is so weird because someone told me who EG. They have someone because someone told me, and I completely forget. I'll go check my DMs later. But they do have a staff from what I remember.
You're just gonna tell us that you know, but then not tell us.
Yeah.
Wait, I heard a lot of things, and then this is one that just slipped my mind completely.
Fair enough. Well, friend of the show, Papa Smithy, who's been busy running the 100 Thieves League of Legends team. We need to replace Bang. So we went out and got Cody's son back from Clutch Game or Dignitas, and then he promoted Stunt recently. Of course, he was in Twitch Rivals from the Academy team to pair with Cody's son on the bot lane. So what do you think of this AD carry swap and letting Afromu go?
I mean, I think Cody's son's a beast. I've always been a huge Cody fan, right? So I think they have like a top tier AD carry. I'm just worried if the team has enough firepower to really make a difference towards like the top side. I think they'll be solid right off the bat. I mean, they've like pretty solid players in every role. Ryan was a mystery. Like when I saw him in OC originally, I didn't think he was very good. Apparently, he's improved a lot. And I mean, if you have an import slot open, and 100 Thieves has money, right? Like they signed Bang and Someday at the same time. They have money. If they're going with Ryoma, clearly they believe something, or they know something that I don't about this player.
So Papa Smithy said they did internal North American tryouts, and he was the best player, and he talked so much about his attitude and the kind of player he wants to be. But I do think he had a soft spot for Ryoma. And one thing I want to mention regarding Cody...
It's been like 5 years since he casted over in Australia. It's been ages.
One thing I want to mention regarding the Cody and Afro situation, do you guys remember the whole rumor about Afro not wanting to play with Cody way back then because Cody was like toxic and strong-headed? So maybe there wasn't a world where Afro and Cody can play together, especially with what was said.
Well, Afro didn't have the greatest year in 2019, so I feel like even if they could get past those rumors, I think Papa would come in with an iron fist and say, this is not what we want for the Thieves.
It's probably what he get told to do as well. I mean, I haven't seen Ryoma play for like 3 years. It's been that long since I've been back home and watched League of Legends there. So that is a mystery. We'll have to see. The Golden Guardians, though, they're sporting a very young roster.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Okay, so they acquired the Turkish MVP Closer, Closer is Closer, right? To play jungler, and C9's Golden Glue, obviously, Grayson, Gilmore, Golden Glue, and Golden Guardians, who will finally have the opportunity to start full-time in the mid lane. Golden Glue is currently the only North American starting mid laner in the LCS. I mean, does that say anything to you guys? Is it a big deal? Or?
He shouldn't even play.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, this team should be 10th, right? Like, there's no roster that looks worse than this on paper.
It's
sure, they can
Keith
overperform.
support too.
Yeah, it's Keith's support. So they're taking a player that wasn't even succeeding in his role swapping him. And then they have a Turkish import, an OC import, and then a mid laner that has been like in academy and been a pro for like 6 years, hasn't seen much success as an LCS player. The biggest amount of success we've seen from him was when he actually was like coming in as a sub for Cloud9. I think that was like the high point of him. So I don't see like how this team is supposed to be able to beat any team that has real stars on it. Like, where's your firepower?
Let's start with the support, because we actually worked with Keith, both of us. I coached Keith very briefly on TSM when we needed a second AD carry because Turtle wasn't playing that well, and you played with Keith. How is Keith like as a player in terms of his skill set?
I don't know. I think it's really different, right? Because when I played with him, he was brand new rookie, like his first games ever, and I think there wasn't that much pressure on him, and I think that's when he succeeded the most. So maybe in this type of situation, it could be good for Keith. He's not supposed to do super well as support. Everyone is just trash talking him right off the bat, saying, oh, Keith is gonna suck, like he was bad at AD carry, can we be done with the Keith experiment? I see all these comments everywhere. So I feel like with no expectations on him, and like the team is like supposed to be a 10th place team. I don't know anyone who's gonna do these LCS tier rankings of all the team, and they don't put Golden Guardians last, right? So maybe without all the pressure on him, he'll be able to kind of just perform the best he can. And I think that's why he always performs in solo queue and why he did well originally when he played with me, was there wasn't any pressure for him to perform. It's like he came in 1 day of practice. No one expects you to win an LCS, so maybe this is no expectations for him to be a good support. He ends up being the next Faker of support.
Oh my God, no way. I think the skill set for support is intelligence. Like, you really need to know what's going around.
So you're calling Keith stupid?
Yes, I'm calling Keith stupid. Keith is very much a fingers player more so than a brain player. So for him to, him playing AD carry was perfect. Just do damage. Just click things correctly.
Was that not
They made a video of why they chose Keith, which was...
Because they couldn't get a cool. That was the video. We couldn't get a cool, so we're going to take Keith.
Yeah, but they also said that we only need you for your fingers. Like, we don't need you to be smart.
That is not how support role works.
Does not say that again.
Essentially what they said was like, you're here just to win lane. That was the video, right? It's like, you're supposed to lane, you're supposed to be a lane dominant player, you're good at laning as AD carry, your problem as an AD carry is you throw the game every single game regardless of what happens. Like, that is your one flaw. And without that flaw, he's honestly a pretty good player. If you take away the fact that he literally ints every single game away, he's good, right? So
he doesn't know where to be. He doesn't know how to think about stress.
Look, when
on the
you
map. That
int
is
as a support late game, that's pretty much just called initiation. So, I think that this actually has a chance of working. I think that Keith and FBI might actually be able to be a decent bot lane. I don't think that bot lane is going to be a problem.
So let's talk about other parts.
I think their top side's going to suck, and they're just going to lose based off their top side just being terrible.
Really, Haunter is going to suck.
I think Closer is going to suck, and I think that you need your jungle to be good in order to win top side.
Look at Haunter last split though. With contracts, he still made a killing.
Yeah, but contracts so contracts sucked, but he at least applied pressure while sucking. Okay. So he was like the type of jungler where he would just do things that were so inefficient for himself that he would be super far behind, but he'd still be around the lane constantly. So it gave you the illusion that you did have a jungler up until the point where the enemy jungler was so strong that your jungler wasn't able to do anything.
1v1 the jungler.
Yeah. Who cares? Plus, jungle in this new season, man, I feel like this new season, it's actually going to pay off to be a good jungler.
Better jungle wins?
Yeah, better jungle actually will win, or your better jungle will actually be ahead. Because before it was jungle was a strong role, but both junglers would end up strong regardless of what happened in the game because of just the way farming worked and catch-up experience.
The floor was very high.
Yeah, exactly. The floor was very high, the ceiling was very low. So it's like, okay, you have a really good jungler, but if you have a really good jungler, what's the difference between a super good jungler and a bad jungler? It really came down to when your jungler was playing around a lane and how those 3v3s went bot lane, 2v2s top. But now I think that if you're a better jungler, you can actually get leads on the enemy. It's like, no, I've killed your lane. I'm taking your golems. I am ahead of you now. And that experience differential, even if you're less strong than you were before, the fact that you can create a bigger gap between you and the enemy, I think is really valuable. So going into this, I feel like they probably have one of the worst junglers in the league. I'd be surprised if Closer wasn't bottom of the table.
So let's talk about another fun team then.
Wait. There's still a little piece to touch on. There's your Oceanic boy, FBI. How good is he, Uber?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, was he on? I think he was on Direwolves. I think. So when we just got ruined by him, bro. We just got completely ruined by this guy.
Yeah, FBI. I think he was on Sin originally, right?
Yes.
When you were there, so he was on Sin, and I think he went Chiefs, maybe?
I have no idea.
Chiefs and then Bombers. Chiefs and then Bombers. I actually follow a little bit of the OC scene just for comedic value. And I don't know. I thought he was a beast. I thought that if any player was going to work out as an import, it was going to be FBI. He was always rank 1. He always performed mechanically well. And then he came here and he just got crapped on by everyone.
But look at his supports. Ole, Huhi, and now Key. He's not working with...
Ole and Huhi are champions.
he's not working with the best. You have to. You're not gonna look amazing.
Who he was a champion mid lane. I don't know if he's a champion level support. All right.
Oh dear. Okay. All right. Let's go on to one of my favorite topics to discuss: TSM. Last week they finalized the buy of the jungler Dardoch from Immortals. So how do you think Dardoch goes with Bjergsen? They got Kobe as well and Biofrost. They're all like TSM. They can't abide not winning the LCS, right? So that's what they're trying to do. Can they win the LCS with this roster?
I think so.
They can. With the upside of this roster is a championship level roster, but the problem is Bio and Kave aren't really known for their laning, so their top side has to be really good.
Yesterday, I don't know if you saw, but Kave was actually dueling with Broken Blade and not Biofrost. You can already tell what his opinion of Vincent Wang really is. I mean, I thought that Dardoch was going to be the one that was going to cause tension in this lineup, but I mean, you know, like, it's already off to a bad start.
The EU flame, you can't contain it.
For the low IQ viewers, Kave and Broken Blade are in Europe and Bio's in NA. That's why they're not duo queuing. But it's a hilarious copy pasta that people are taking overboard.
Well, why'd you have to ruin it? I just love to see the people get triggered in the chat.
You actually went and gave the plebs the critical information. I don't think anyone's done that.
Really? That's what we're supposed to do, explain to the plebs so they can feel smart. But for TSM, Dardoch and Broken Blade, these are very low floors, high ceiling players, and they have to get their things together. If these two are not on top of their game, this roster will not work.
I never felt like Dardoch was a low floor player in LCS. Like the only time
his floor is blowing up the team and not playing.
Okay, so
He's saying it's a lot of variance. Is that what you're trying to say?
There's no way he gets away with that in TSM.
In terms of skill though, I never saw him play like bad. Like the worst I ever saw him play was on Immortals for that spring split. But he's always seemed like the type of player that even if he was not happy with the environment, he would always perform well individually at least.
But he would make other players around him play bad. Not maybe himself, but the way his attitude was and how he behaved would make it so the team couldn't function.
I feel like the only player that could really affect, I mean, I guess the two players that I could see that affecting maybe would be Broken Blade and Vincent and Biofrost. I think that those are the two that could be more prone to that negativity that Dardoch can sometimes exhibit. I just feel like in this lineup, I mean, what we said before, or my stance before it hasn't changed, is that somebody like Bjergsen to look up to is somebody that Dardoch respects so much, he won't be able to take those same attitudes. Like if Bjergsen calls him out and is like, hey, what you're doing in this team environment is bullshit. You can't be acting like this going forward. I don't think that he's going to be like, screw you, Bjergsen, you're washed up anyway. I can't see that coming out of him.
In line underneath the leadership of someone like Bjergsen.
Yeah, I think that you need a certain level of respect within a team if you're going to have Dardoch in it, and I feel like this team definitely has that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the spirit of Monty from far away, just trying to throttle him for telling the plebs the secrets. Yeah, sometimes he gets in the studio. So Counterlogic Gaming also took advantage of the Optic Immortal cluster fudge, beefing up the mid lane by bringing Crown into the mix. So let's talk about Crown. How do you think he does in this new home on CLG, and what's their outlook as a roster?
I cannot believe they landed Crown. I think Crown was one of the hottest free agents in terms of mid lane pool. There was no one else that was potentially better in North America at the least.
How'd they land Crown then?
Who else was a free agent in mid lane for North America that was better than Crown?
Sure, but
There it is.
I mean, Crowns has a really high ceiling, but he was not consistent at all.
I think it was kind of hard to be consistent on that team with Dokla,
Sure.
Arrow. So I give him a little bit of leeway, but talking about Crown on CLG, I think it's a really great replacement for Power Up Evil. I think with Power Up Evil, that roster was really inflexible. They were good at what they were good at, but they were terrible when he was forced off of certain champions, and they had to do a lot of cutesy things in draft to make that roster work.
See, I don't see Crown as that much different in terms. I feel like he's the same as Power of Evil, not in terms of the same type of champion pool, but I don't think that he plays everything well. Like, I don't remember Crown being, oh, this beast Kiana play or anything, or I didn't think any of his assassins were good. Like, he played some TF, it looked okay. I feel like he had his own wheelhouse of champions, but I don't think that they included all the assassins that we might see.
Okay, I'll give some internal information. I didn't want to do this, but
Yes, you did.
on Optic, Crown wasn't very happy with the environment, and also he wanted to play with more Koreans and for a Korean coach, and CLG has provided him that. So I do think we're going to see a better Crown this year.
I think Song is the bigger pickup than taking Crown for CLG.
Really? I thought Irene was amazing.
Well, Irene has not been. He's still there.
No, he's gone.
Oh. Well, what about? So it's
He's
now
been in Sweden.
Song and Weldon. That's the new coaching team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to think about Song. Is Song actually that great of a coach? He came up with Immortals, right? Everyone was like, he's a beast. And then he went to TSM and it was like, who are you?
It's hard there, Dom.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, even Loco outperformed him on TSM.
I am the best performing actual TSM head coach. Parf does not count. Parf was more of a manager.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, so we'll just pretend.
Yeah, just sweep that under the rug. Okay.
Righto, so speaking of CLG, as we mentioned briefly, Jacob Wolf from ESPN reported that their former mid laner Power of Evil, as we discussed, will join FlyQuest, along with former Schalke support Ignar from the LEC. So does this move the needle on FlyQuest, do you think, or do you think this makes big changes for them?
I think they're middle of the pack now. Like, I mean, obviously they ended at the bottom of the standings last time. I think maybe they're middle of the pack now. I just don't know like how good Power of Evil still is. I feel like this move was mainly like Power of Evil and Ignar. They played together on Misfits. They always talked well of each other. They had a lot of respect for each other. I feel like this was just kind of them wanting to play together. It's like, hey, you know, we both got crapped on last year for the most part. Let's run it back. Like we were good enough to almost beat SKT in quarterfinals of Worlds in 2017, I think it was. 2017. And I think they just wanted to play they wanted to play with each other again. So I think that this meant this team is just going to be mainly about, are they still good enough to like play their style? Can Ignar play all of his weird stuff? Can Power of Evil play all of his weird stuff? Because they complemented each other really well. You know, Power of Evil doesn't play the most aggressive stuff. He plays like a lot of the Orianna and things like that, Karma, things like that. And then you put Ignar on the like engage carries now. Like Ignar can play Blitzcrank, Pike, like that type of stuff.
So what it feels like for me is like when the Balenciaga shoes are really hot and all like the giga-rich streamers like Dom are buying it and wearing it, and I can't pick it up right away.
Like $10 Nike, dude.
And then they become cheaper later on, and they're on sale, and then you can buy it, and it's not as cool anymore. That's what it feels like. I think Ignar and Power of Evil, their height and like their absolute best we've already seen, and FlyQuest is kind of cashing in on like them being not as hot anymore.
You think that's why they saw this opportunity to, okay, we're going to take these two guys on a sale
You buy low, sell
and
high,
get rid
right?
of Poe Belter?
You guys, it sounded like you guys were sort of intimating that Power of Evil was maybe propped up a little bit for like a bit of a weak champion pool on CLG. Is that what you were intimating?
So he's very good at what he does, but what he does is a little bit weird, like Orianna, Smasher Tooth. He doesn't really
He
play
wants to play
assassins very
Ziggs in
well.
important matches.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like you don't want your player, your main star of the team to be the Ziggs guy.
So there were very important champions like Irelia and Akali that was core part of the meta, and Power of Evil did not play those.
He played one game of it and was actually really good at it mechanically. So I think he has it in him. It's just that he prefers the other champion.
Maybe some of that Unicorns of Love branding still sticking to him. Immortals, formerly Optic Gaming, everyone's just changing around, decided to bring on talent from the LEC, signing top laner Soaz from Misfits, according to ESPN. They've also signed a new bot lane duo of Altec and Hakuho, along with mid laner Ica. Okay, we mentioned Hakuho earlier on. I remember Altec as an academy player from years ago. What are your thoughts on these changes?
I don't know how good Ica is. I didn't watch the French league, so I don't know if he's improved. It just seems weird to me that this type of player is getting a shot on an LCS team. Like, okay, so apparently he did really well in the LFL or whatever. I guess that's a thing, but
What
last
region
time I
is the
remember
LFL?
seeing-
France.
France,
right.
So for me, it's like the last time I really saw him was when he was with Elements. Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, 2016 Elements. I'm like, what the like? This guy has been here for 4 years playing amateur, and now he's suddenly like the next Faker. I really just can't see this team like doing well.
Isn't
I
it
can see them not being terrible.
Weirder that Xmithy's joined this team out of all the teams as well?
Yeah,
Like,
so
this is where Xmithy went.
There was a bidding war for Xmithy. TL, TSM, Immortals, a lot of teams
Yeah.
were involved, and Immortals won out. And Xmithy, when you have a choice of teams as a player, you're not only going to look at your own salary, you're going to be like, okay, what roster are you going to put around me? And then
I don't buy that for.
You think it was
for-
pure paycheck?
I don't think that he was sitting there. He's like, so I could play with like Bjergsen, Broken Blade, and Kabi, or I could play with Soaz and this guy that was in LCS in 2016. Yeah, I'm taking that roster.
Was that the team with Froggen, the Elements team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it started as that team, and then
Yeah.
it turned into something else.
Gotcha.
So I was going to save this information for our own show, but I'll drop it here. So I talked to...
So
so you're ruining our own show. Okay, great, excellent.
I talked to Chips, the French caster, and he actually mentioned that Immortals could have picked up better mid laners, but Zabutin really trusts in Aka. So it is a little bit
it's
of,
the
if you want to
French
call
bias.
it nepotism.
It's
The
the
French
French
connection,
bias.
baby.
I want
Yeah.
to defend Zabutin. So I shat on him so hard when they picked up Crown because I knew Crown from Brazil. I actually talked to him and I talked to his jungler. They hated playing in Brazil because people were lazy around him. And when he came to North America, I thought it would be the same thing because people are lazy in North America. And he killed it in North America, right? He did a lot better than what a lot of people thought he would do.
That's also Crown. And this other one is Ica. Like that's a little bit of a difference. In terms
World
of, like,
champion.
Wait, I like how you said when he was in Brazil, you left out the whole period where he went back to Korea, became like a world class mid laner. He wins the world championship, like that. Yeah, whatever. He's the Brazilian guy. that we're going with.
The main point of the story is that we did not believe in Zabuteam's pickups before, and it did seem a little strange, and he's doing something a little strange again. Maybe it'll work out again.
It's like, how many chances does he have to actually win a championship? Like, or do well? Or have they even made playoffs yet? Has Optic made playoffs?
Yeah, the first time was this summer split, and they got 3-0'd.
They got 3-0'd brutally.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, just get off the stage. This is disgraceful what they showed here. Like they lost the game with like almost 2 or 3 in-hits for CLG.
Yeah,
okay. I remember.
They had that in the bag.
So how long do you actually take to go from like, okay, we're giving you like a chance to make a championship roster? I feel like this is just another bottom tier roster that maybe can sneak into playoffs if things go well for them.
That Soaz pickup, though, another French connection.
Oh my God.
Wow,
let's just get
it's
a
all
full
coming
French
together
game.
now.
Yeah.
All right, we spent a lot of time on NA, but let's jump across the Atlantic. As we've been talking about French players to the LEC. So Fnatic continue to retool their roster after their performance at Worlds, bringing on jungler Selfmade from SK Gaming. With the loss of Broxah and the addition of Selfmade, do we see better synergy here for Fnatic going forward?
Yes, for sure, because I will give another insider to
Oh, I know.
The drip's off the chain, dude.
What?
So you're gonna say that Nemesis and Selfmade really wanted to play together, so it was either Nemesis left for SK or Selfmade left for Fnatic.
Yep, there was an iteration where it would have been a different mid laner and Broxah staying, but they went with the iteration where it's a different jungler and the same mid laner.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too. I just don't think that there's a world where you give up Nemesis after the performance. He's, in my opinion, the best player on Fnatic. So I think that you kind of just let him do whatever he wants at this point. It's like, okay, he doesn't like playing with the jungler. This is his chance to really like own the team.
And of course, ESPN also reported that Schalke picked up SK Gaming support player Dreams. So will Dreams help propel this team up next year?
So Dreams is actually playing with Forgiven, and Dreams has been someone that was very solid in lane, so I'm very interested in that bot lane, Dreams Forgiven. I think it could be one of the best bot lanes in EU.
Well, moving along, SK Gaming returned the favour to Schalke by picking up their support Trick. So what are your thoughts on that? It's a swap, essentially. So is it an up or downgrade for SK?
A little bit of a correction. SK picked Trick as their jungler.
Gotcha.
And they're picking him up. I don't know. I wasn't really bought in on Trick. What was your opinion, Dom?
Trick is weird. Trick is like, who can I compare Trick to? Trick is like amazing. That's how I view it. It's like the same type of player where he's smart, he knows where to be, but his mechanics are like not great, so I think it's really gonna be meta dependent. If it becomes tank meta, great, Trick will be fine. If it becomes like a Lee Sin, Elise meta, Trick is gonna have a bad time in LEC.
I have a feeling it might be a Nidalee meta.
Yeah, if it's a Nidalee meta, then they are really doomed.
So it's the mechanically intensive matchups you worry about for him.
Yeah, that's the thing with all Boomer players. Like all these Boomer players, you got to make sure they get tank meta, they get safe champions. You don't need too many abilities. Look, you can't. These guys played with less than one weapon for their whole career. Now you're gonna give them 5. Like they can't handle that.
Let's jump over to the LCK, where the biggest story continues to be Griffin, obviously, in recent days. So Riot South Korea issued suspensions to former Griffin director Cho Gyunam, I think it was, and the coach CV Max. Well, they also fined the team. So the parent company, Still 8, has allowed the entire roster to become free agents in order for them to sign better contracts. So Chovy, Doran, and Leons, I can't pronounce that one, so they took them up on that offer and went for other options. Loco, so this is obviously huge news. What's going on with this team? Where's everyone going? And where do we go from here?
Oh man, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get killed for dropping these details, but I mean, let's go for it. So there's an old org called CJ Entis, right? They used to be a StarCraft 1 org, and the head of Riot Esports in Korea and Cho Gi-nam, the director in question, both worked for CJ. And when Cho Gi-nam was retiring as a head coach, this staff member at the time opened the retirement for him, and then in the end, he turned into the Riot Korean head of esports, right? So there, you can see the huge conflict of interest where it's one party against another party, and the person that's investigating used to work with one of the parties. So
That's a problem. Yeah.
it's a huge deal in Korea. So someone started an official government petition, right? And if you can get 200,000 signatures, then the Korean presidential department, the Blue House, has to make an official statement to it. And earlier today, they did get 200 signatures. So
200,000?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
so
So what do you think is going to happen then with this whole thing?
I think it's going to get blown open, and I think a third-party investigator is going to come in, and we're going to see new information. It is very, very fishy, and it is a lot of conflict of interest from Griffin and Riot Korea side, so we're going to see this blow up.
Well,
Mess.
let's go over to some good news. We'll try and keep you abreast of that story as it develops, though. Everyone's favorite team, SK Telecom T1, now just T1, have re-signed their support effort, and they brought on jungler Cuz from Dragon X and top laner Roach from Gen G. So what does this team look like now heading back for another run at Worlds?
SKT1, the dynasty, is
dead.
over. It's over. The Faker, the best player in the world, he's no longer the best player in the world. He might not even be the best mid laner in Korea. And their coach, Goma, also went with a Chinese team in Vici Gaming.
7 years with SKT.
Isn't that
right?
the same one that Bengi went to? Right?
Yeah, Bengi and Mata.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I thought that was weird that all these SKT players just get bought out by Vici Gaming.
Is it, though? Is it weird considering what we've just been talking about with the wheeling and dealing out there?
Yeah. So Dom, I want to talk to you about Clid. Now, Clid is not on SKT. How big of a deal is that?
Okay, so I'm a huge Cuz fanboy.
Oh,
I am a big Cuz fanboy.
do not tell me he's an upgrade.
I don't think he's an upgrade.
Okay.
I think that he is like not that much of a downgrade. I think he's like almost a side grade.
Wow.
I think Roach is a big downgrade. I was not impressed by Roach for Gen G. I mean, when you look at Gen G's roster, I thought he was one of the weakest parts of Gen G's roster. So I don't know what they see in Roach or like why they think that he's suddenly going to be such a good player. But I feel like overall this is not great for SKT. I feel like this is not a championship roster.
What was the team that Roach was on before Gen G? Because I think he looked pretty good on that before.
So he used to be on Najin, which turned into Kongdu.
Yes, Kongdu, that's
Yeah.
the one. He was good on Kongdu.
But he was good on a bad team that gave him resources. He was the carry player. One thing that is good for Roach is Coach Kim, the new coach of SKT, is legendary, and he's known for bringing up top laners. Nuguri, Deshai, Khan actually, he did that on Longzhu. So he actually believes in the Roach, and he had say in picking him up. So maybe there is hope there.
So there's another side to this SKT situation now. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Gen G and Clid, but the Afrika Freaks have signed Korean native Mystic from Team WE from the LPL. How good is this guy? For those that don't know much about the LPL.
It was OG.
He's been there for so long. He was in the LPL so long. I thought he was Chinese. I swear to God. I thought because he'd been a player for World Elite for what, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of time to like, and I think that's where his career really took off. Like I don't remember him until season 5 World Elite, really like propelling that team forward. So I'm really surprised that he's going back to LCK. I think he spent a very small period there before. I just don't. Like, I don't know if he's that good. I know he was one of the best players on World Elite, but it was World Elite.
Yeah, so he is one of the best AD carries in LPL. He's ranked very highly by LPL analysts. And I'll give a little bit more information. He's married with a kid. So
That's a great thing now, right?
well, no,
the married
no,
man,
that's why he wants to come back to Korea to like
Okay.
make sure his family is like more together.
That
and,
adds
like,
a lot
being
of
raised in
context.
Korea.
Okay, that's nice.
Did he play back with like Messiah like way back then?
No. He was playing in Jin Air, so he joined
It
like
was
the
like
new
him
age
in
of
Zia, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the first?
he joined like the new age of World Elite.
Gotcha. Well, you're moving back home, I guess, to be with his family, kind of add some context to that particular move. But we're still talking about the LPL, so we can't have an off-season discussion without mentioning the reigning world champions, FunPlus Phoenix. ESPN's Tyler Erzberger, or Fion on Fire as you may know him, is reporting that they signed Khan from SKT1. Is this, I mean, this is a world champion now signing Khan, who was one of the biggest sort of stories coming out of his team. Is it GG's for everyone else?
It's a little bit of a mismatch. Khan is like a carry player, and FunPlus Phoenix, they don't give a lot of attention to top. I know they did at Worlds, but traditionally, Gimgun is known for being a really good weak sub top laner, because that's what FPX played normally.
So he becomes a low econ top laner now, or do they change their
He
their
can play
structure?
that. He's not going to be bad at playing weak side.
But will he just not, will he just not look as dominant and people will be like, what happened to Khan? Or like, how does this go?
They can go a bit two ways, right? They can change their playstyle, or they can force him to be a weak side top laner. I'm not sure what they'll go with.
I thought it was weird that they got such a high profile like signing when they already have Gimgun. So I wonder what the dynamic is going to be, if one of them is just going to get all the games, if they actually want to use them for different styles, or if Gimgun's just done.
So Kim-gun said on stream, I'm going to play one more year, then I retire. I think as a player, you should almost never say that. When you say that, it sends such a big signal to the ownership. Find a replacement for this guy right away.
Say the same thing?
Doinby, he did, but we'll see what happens. But Doinby's on a different level. If you're Bjergsen or Doublelift, you can say whatever the hell you want, right? And you'll get away with it. And Doinby's kind of that status. He is like the engine that makes that team function. So Doinby could say like, oh, I might retire tomorrow, but they can't really do a lot about it.
Okay. It feels bizarre. You're saying you want to play one more year, retire, kind of makes it sound like you're already checked out. It definitely sends a message to coaches and fans alike. I wonder if Khan's stock gets affected by being a weak side top laner. We'll have to see, because obviously he's riding high now. LGD Gaming, though, they also brought another Korean player to China. So this is happening plenty, of course. So former Genji jungler Peanut is on their roster. So what does LGD look like now with... I know, like, my questions are essentially the same, but we are literally looking at these teams one by one. So what do LGD look like now with Peanut?
I don't even remember what the rest of their roster is. Do you guys know?
I have no idea. I know that Imp retired, right? So it's one less player. I just feel like LGD has like not been relevant for a while in China.
Yeah. So for Peanut and like generally Korean junglers going over to China, I actually think it's good because Korean junglers want to play more aggressive and they want to do more of what they want to do, and China is all open to that, right? Like Klid was that player in China, and that's, I think Peanut actually suffered a lot in Korea because the only time he's been really successful was on Longju when everyone played around him and allowed him to be the player he wanted to be, and he'll have that environment provided to him in LGD.
The meta will really suit him too as well if it's more mechanics based.
So before we wrap up, we've done a bit of an around the grounds of global League of Legends teams. Stuff is coming out as we sort of speak. Is there anything that we've sort of missed or not touched on? Anything that you guys wish you were asked?
Ooh, let's see. Dom, how do you feel about the Broxah replacing TL thing? I know it's a little bit of old news, but it's still one where I think it might have been a mistake.
I think that Brox is better than people give him credit for. He's the type of player that I think is influenced by his team. I think that when Fnatic was demanding so much of him, he's more willing to be like, when Reckless is like on the verge of tears, like, please come bot, like, he'll probably end up going. You know, he's a nice guy, he's a gentle giant, he cares about his teammates' feelings, and he wants them to feel comfortable within the game. But I feel like on a team that's more balanced, he'll be able to be the player that he once was, and he's still easily challenger in EU West. He plays all the mechanical champions pretty well. Like in terms of solo queue, it just never felt like he was really unleashed on this team. I kind of miss the old Broxah when he first came into the league, right? He was this phenomenal Lee Sin Elise player, taking over games, early ganks, all that stuff. I hope that can be more of his role on TL and they can kind of be more stable around him.
I worry that NA solo queue will break him. I worry that Broxah will come here and he's just going to realize, oh, what have I done? Where am I?
We were just talking to Blabber, and this will air next week. He was saying that EU solo queue is far worse to play.
I think that EU solo queue is worse to play in if you care what people type.
Okay.
That's what I say. Because like people will type way more crazy stuff, but you have to just be like, they're just mad about the dental situation. You can't really know what is pissing them off.
Well, honestly, it is also because like when I play competitively games in Europe, it's a mash of different languages, and a lot of people English is their second language. So
and they only know the bad words.
Exactly, and a lot of people, especially in Eastern European countries, I've noticed that they're generally their inclination is to get fairly heated. It's not that they're angry people; it's just culturally like that's something that they don't take offense to each other when they get heated at one another. So they do it to you, and I'm like, what? In Australia, like there's fighting words like, you know, why is everyone getting so mad? So maybe it's a communication issue as well.
Final topic, Pobelter, after announcing that he won't play in LCS, he kind of did his own very, very small version of Dunzo Manifesto, talking about Worlds game from back in 2017 MSI game. What's your take on that?
I think that it is true that people are like pretty much rewriting his career, which is the most annoying thing as a player. I know where he's coming from. People make it seem like he just played on TL and he was carried, right? And he was garbage, and yeah, he had a bad World. But if you remember the finals, he was like 1v9 on Aurelia in the games that he played. He's actually like hard carried TL before. And in ways, he performed better in the clutch moments than Jensen did when they were both on that roster, and they both had horrible Worlds performances. So I feel like people just they're like, oh, well, he had a bad last split, so that means he was always bad. It's this thing that the League community does with every single player that ever has like any bad period. It's like, well, I knew that he was bad. Like, yeah, when he was winning all those championships, people were just covering up how bad he really was, but he was bad that whole time.
Recency bias.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it is inaccurate how people have judged him and how people have labeled his careers. He's just been like a mediocre player, and the only reason he was on teams is because he was an NA mid. And I do definitely think that there's no world where he's not able to play in an LCS team.
He's also a crazy veteran. Like, he was playing LCS before it was franchised, before
And he's a champion.
before he's won it all. He's played multiple roles, and the thing that makes me really sad is we don't have more tournaments happening, and so these players might legitimately get so discouraged after a year that we might lose them.
And Academy is garbage in NA. Like, there's one thing that DeMonte said that was spot on is Academy is not a path to pro. How many players do you see just stuck in Academy year after year? They're just always an Academy player, like Hard, for example. Just your Academy Hard stuck for your entire life. These players never have any real chances to move up, and they don't actually get any experience. They don't get to play any international tournaments. It's not like, for example, in EU, where you have EU Masters and you have all the national leagues that are competitive, and then you have the EU Masters tournament where they all have to come together, and there's like some hype, and people are actually scouted from that. You see like the players that do really well, like Leader, Sakura, like all these people, they end up getting into LEC like the next split. Academy is just some completely different thing where it's like people just have an Academy team because they have to have an Academy team. They don't actually use it to bolster their own lineup.
So you think even with import limitations that it's still very hard for players to move up in their home regions in their league?
For NA, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that NA is just the type of, like, the thing is the people that have the money in NA don't necessarily know what they're doing, so they don't know the space. They're just going to be like, oh, this guy had a good career somewhere else? Yeah, give him like $1 million. They don't know the difference between the skill level of somebody like Ryoma mid versus Ica mid versus Jensen. Like, they don't know who's, like, how much better each player is. It just seems like it's kind of arbitrary how we like.
Are people not employing scouts?
So traditional roles like general manager have really come into effect this year, right? Like Papa Smithy and other people we might know of. I think scouts are starting to slowly become a thing. We generally don't have scouts. What we do is like
I've never even heard of a scout in NA. Who's a scout in NA?
So coaches and analysts during off season, the owners will be like, go scout, and they'll be lazy.
Okay, so who's a scout in NA? Give me a name of one scout.
No one is a full-time scout.
Okay, so we don't even have scouts. Like, that's the reality of it. We have no scouts. I've never heard of anyone being labeled a scout.
That is so ironic because we don't have any region locking in the Overwatch League. We have scouts, but the path to pro, as you put it, is a lot of people are quote-unquote hard stuck in there as well over the last couple of years. And there's even less possibility of them moving out because a lot of players get imported into the league. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's crazy that even in League it's so difficult. And there's a ton to talk about here, but we are running short on time. Dom, thanks so much for joining us, bro.
Yeah, no
Great
problem.
Conversation. Where can people find you out on the interwebs if they're looking to follow you?
LiquidDominate on Twitter. I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/IWillDominate, and yeah, IWillDominate LOL on YouTube. So yeah.
There you have it. Thank you very much. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back in a minute with Click Debate, where we're talking about League of Legends All-Stars, and we'll have a chance to win some Puma gear. In the meantime, here's the Cloud9 PUBG mobile team at DreamHack Atlanta.
My name is T-Ball Mallet. My gamer tag is Uneven, and I play PUBG Mobile for Team Cloud9. Cloud9 PUBG Mobile roster consists of me, Uneven, Percasus, Pyra, and Beowulf. Me and Percasus play a fragger-oriented role where we're here to put ourselves in the right position in team fights and hit our shots and get our trades and, you know, allow Beowulf, who's the IGL, to focus on the macro play, the environment around him to create, you know, the best and easiest rotations. Pyra plays a support role that helps either Bayo or us, depending on what the scenario needs. Plays a scout role to go and gather information about, obviously, the environment around him and helps Bayo do his job better as well.
We're in DreamHack Atlanta, competing in the ESL Mobile PUBG Open, which is a 10-team Sanhok tournament for $53,000.
DreamHack is kind of a gaming convention where lots of different tournaments are played. There's lots of different booths. You can go around and see new games and stuff. And at its core, it's about bringing people together to play games. And that's what's great about it.
So with such a short tournament of only 5 games, especially on Sanhok, momentum is a really huge thing. So the person that gets the first win you know, has a really huge advantage over the rest. And unfortunately, we came down to that 1v1 at the very first game.
I think it was a 2v3 versus SSG. It was me and my teammate Beowulf.
It's just two members. It's 2 versus 3. Sixless getting knocked or getting chunked early. Beowulf, the big fragger here for Cloud9 on the front. Pyra as well, part of that championship squad with Misfits in Season 1. It's a good opportunity here for Cloud9. Beowulf getting the wraparound onto Sixless. The information now passed off to the rest of Space Station Gaming, and now it is a 2v2. And another knock going down. Space Station Gaming might be losing this one. Angry on a big flank here, and it's a 1v1. Pyra and Angry going back and forth with 2 members knocked. Those won't be revived here. Angry on the peak. Pyra getting the look, and is Angry able to win the fight here. And Space Station Gaming come out on top in game number 1.
We got 2 of them, and we didn't realize that the third person had flanked uphill of us. And he got us both, and I kind of missed my shots at the end, but it happens.
It was essentially a 1v3, and he got the first 2, but the last one just barely got him, and you know, that really changed the tide of the tournament and gave SSG the boost that they needed to perform their best and let us a little bit down.
So the tournament was a bit disappointing for us. We got 6th, I believe, it's still pretty decent. It's middle of the pack, but we know we probably could have done better. But moving forwards, we got a whole bunch of big tournaments, so this is just prep for that coming up.
I mean, playing for the biggest org out there that I've personally been, you know, watching since like I was a kid, is just a crazy feeling. It's hard to wrap your head around it. Along with the big name like Cloud9 comes with all these like amazing sponsors that put a whole lot of love into their teams and their organization, and people like AT&T who, you know, hosted this event and who brought us out to their booth and did stuff with us and created content with us. It was a really cool experience.
So I thank AT&T for hosting and sponsoring all of this mobile open seasons, because it really promotes the mobile platform and gives us something to actually play and practice, and hopefully moving forward, so keep doing it and keep giving us an avenue to show our talents.
This is Click Debate. No! Sponsored by Puma Del Arm Wrestling, if you didn't see it. All-Star games.
Loco.
Yeah, really? Yeah. That's right. It's actually it's all stored right
the other
there.
arm. Like, why'd you fuck
You forgot. It's fine. It's all the same to him, you know. All-Star games. We're talking about all-star games. They're never perfect in any sport, and there's no exception in esports. So today on Click Debate, we're examining the League of Legends All-Star event that's happening next weekend at the eSports Arena in Las Vegas. The festivities will be attended by 64 All-Stars, 2 pros from each region by a fan vote, and 6 spots chosen by Riot after the fans vote. Some players, like the top 2 vote getters in NA, Doublelift and Bjergsen, have actually opted out of going for various reasons. And Sneaky and Bang, for example, have accepted, so we know that. So all of this begs a handful of questions to which these 2 will answer. Most importantly, at the end, we'll have them pick their LCS All-Star teams, and you in the audience can win some Puma gear. All you have to do is listen to their arguments and type who you agree with more, Loco or Crumbz, along with hashtag Puma in the chat. Sorry, you must be 18 years or older and live in North America to win. So let's start with this. Do you guys approve of the format? Each region represented evenly and predominantly fan vote based at the end of the year is when this event's happening.
So I think Bjergsen and Doublelift dropping out shows how bad this format is. Before, we would be in Korea boot camping, and players would kind of skip out on the boot camp for a little to go back, participate in All-Stars, and come back.
Hang on. Doublelift is not skipping. He's still going as a content creator for his team.
But not really participating, even though he got voted in. And I know they have the luxury, because they've been to All-Stars so many times, to be like, it's okay, I'm not going to go. But yeah, like it shows so much that pro players that got voted in are declining to go.
Well, it's an event that's highly uncompetitive compared to the entirety of the year. So would you rather take the time to rest and just recharge for the next season, or go to the event? I think that's really the big problem, where you have so many tournaments if you're at the top. If you're at the top team, you're playing LCS, you're playing Rift Rivals, MSI, Summer Split, then Worlds, and now you have to go to All-Stars, which has no impact on your entire competition. So I think more players are just going to be declining, and it's something that Riot has to keep in mind.
Is there any incentive for players to compete, especially
the orgs really have to incentivize them like they did with Doublelift, just to go make content out of it.
Do you think the players should be sort of required to go?
So
No.
You can force them to go, but if they don't want to be there, then you're going to get a crappy event nonetheless, right?
Yep.
I love the All-Star format where everyone voted for a role for each region, right? So you could either vote for like Bjergsen or Jensen, whoever you thought was the best, and you would get to make an All-Star team with the limitation of 2 players per team max, so you don't get like 5 SKT players going or 5 TL players going, and then have them compete like which region is the best. I love that format.
You know, I think what format would be really nice is if it was based on the nationality. I think that might be really interesting because now we're seeing that, I think, nothing against these players, but you have the All-Stars of NA being Bang and Core JJ, where these are Korean champions. I think they would be better suited being Korean All-Stars. Like, that to me is what I think of these players.
That sounds like a World Cup to me.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that would have a place? Like, do you think that there would be more incentive then for players to represent their countries?
I think absolutely, because there's a big sense of pride to represent your own country versus just the random fan vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially for the Asian regions. I feel like Korea and China, they're going to go ham at it if it was like Overwatch World Cup format. There will be people crying.
So, we see it. We actually see it. So, all right, so who's your LCS All-Star teams then?
If I had to pick 5 players from LCS to be All-Stars, I'm going to start with my boy Bjerg, as always. I believe in Bjerg.
Okay.
Always have, always will. For jungle, I'll go Svenskeren. For AD, I'll go Doublelift. For top lane, I think Impact. It's a pretty close race between Impact and Licorice. And for support, I think this one's obvious, Core JJ.
I would go Licorice top. I would go Svenskeren jungle. Mid lane, yeah, Bjergsen, but my AD is Sneaky. I think Sneaky is...
What?
Yeah! Because I think it's what suits the theme of the event. It's content, it's fan, it's engagement. Sneaky is going to drive so much engagement for an event like that. And then for your support, I think somebody like Afram would just go in the direction of having fun. The event has no competitive merit. Just go with it instead of trying to half-ass, oh, are we trying to make the best team possible or based on the top performers? Who is the best entertainer?
So it almost feels like where it is right now, it's kind of diluted, right? It's neither here nor there. It's neither competitive and it's neither an influencer-based sort of event.
I think Riot has a Riot identity. It is more creator-based and more fun-based, like, because streamers get invited to go, right? Like, I remember Nightblue going. Yeah. I remember Lux Bunny going last year.
I think Tyler One was at it too.
Yeah, Tyler One was like the
Another
host
person
of it.
leaving Twitch Rivals. He just looked really off. Nightblue, Taiwan. That's brutal, man. Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's a lot to it, and defining, I guess, the purpose of your event makes it much easier for people to understand, and also it kind of answers the question if they have to be there or not. If it's an influencer thing, it's different for the pro players, and it's the same in NFL, right? There are a lot of pro bowlers who, wouldn't want to be at the Pro Bowl because they'd want to be at the Super Bowl instead. So
invite me, Ryan. I'll go.
Influencer marketing.
They'll pay. You'll have to pay your own ticket. They'll invite you.
Okay. I might pay for my own ticket.
He might still go anyway. There you go. So that's it for us in the Nines, presented by AT&T. Shout out to T-Breathe13 for subscribing to the C9 channel for 3 months. Thanks for that. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving, by the way?
I didn't know there was Thanksgiving coming.
Sounds about right.
I don't celebrate holidays.
I'm coming over to yours.
All right, that sounds great, because my missus, her family, we have like 2 Thanksgivings to go to. It's more like 100 people at each one. God help me, I'm Australian. I don't even understand the holiday, but there it is. Thank you again to Dominate for joining us as well. Great conversation, which I barely understood most of it, but that's kind of my function anyway. We'll be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, with a special edition of our show where we interview Cloud9's new startling jungler, Blabber. Make sure to check that out and follow Cloud9's Twitch channel here and subscribe to them on YouTube. I'm Uber, that's Crumbz, that's Locodoco. Thanks for watching and good night.